Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5, another Republican adds his voice to those asking President Trump to resign. And now, just 9 days out from the inauguration of the incoming administration, planning is all about security and whether more protests can be expected. Today marks 3 weeks since 2 little boys went missing, but this weekend, community members were still out searching. We'll have the latest on the investigation into what happened to Orrin and Orson West. And a Southern California nurse takes us inside the ICU for a first-hand account of what it's like to be on the front lines trying to save people as they battle COVID-19. This is Monday, January 11th, 2021. Good morning. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen, anchoring from here at home today. Alex Fisher is holding down the fort in studio. And what a gorgeous weekend it was. It's hard to believe that we're in early January. I hope everyone got out to enjoy a little bit of that sunshine this weekend.
Yeah, but we definitely saw some fog across the valley at least. Let's turn things over to Kevin Charette, who has a look at our forecast. And Kev, one of the things that I really enjoyed on Saturday especially was the fog that kind of lingered for several hours. It was actually really dense and even kind of wet.
Yeah, you're exactly right. The fog on Saturday morning was very dense. In fact, it was able to drop a little bit of that moisture on the ground. Woke up, looked outside. It wasn't rain, but the fog was so dense that I actually picked up 1/100 of an inch in my gauge here on the west side of town. We saw the fog yesterday morning. It is Monday. I don't know if Mother Nature just says, hey, there's a commute going to happen, and so let's limit the fog, but it's not a problem right now. But as we get closer to daybreak, we'll probably see some of that fog form, and you can see along our roadways. Downtown is looking just fine right now. The 99 is looking good, and Mohawk at Rosedale, very little fog to be seen. As we take a look at our visibility, and I have been seeing a little bit of that fog starting to develop into the valley locations. Right now, it's been confined more to the north, and you can see here on our fog severity index, Bakersfield at 6 miles, 7 in Delano, Merced, though, down to 0 with Fresno at 3. The dense fog advisory is in place for the valley until 11 a.m., so we'll see if that actually forms. You can see downtown is looking good. We've got a temperature of 37, a light wind right now. As we take a look at the hour by hour, we're expecting some patchy fog and then sunny skies for the most part throughout the afternoon and lower 60s. We've still got the observation side into Hatchby down, but here's a look at the forecast for today. We'll expect sunny skies and temperatures into the 50s. I'll have much more on your weather coming up in just a little bit. For now, we'll send it back to you.
All right, thanks, Kev. 5:02 now, and more Republicans are joining the call for President Trump to leave office before Inauguration Day. Some want him to resign. At least one is calling for his removal, and that process could start this week. Tracy Potts has the story from Washington.
Good morning, everyone. With just 9 days left in this presidency, hundreds of lawmakers say they want the president out of office now. Democrats are promising to make that happen, but it's not clear if they have enough time. The House of Representatives plans to introduce articles of impeachment this week. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi last night on 60 Minutes.
This president is guilty of inciting insurrection. He has to pay a price for that.
Multiple sources tell NBC that Vice President Pence is unlikely to use the 25th Amendment to remove President Trump. More than 200 House members and 37 senators want him to resign or be removed.
Every minute and every hour that he is in office represents a clear and present danger.
Donald Trump may be in the Twitter penalty box, but he still has access to the nuclear codes. That's a frightening prospect.
Some believe a trial can wait.
Let's give President-elect Biden the 100 days he needs to get this agenda off and running.
Republicans are lining up against the president.
The best way for our country, Chuck, is for the president to resign and go away as soon as possible.
As Washington remembers the Capitol police officer who died after last week's riot, D.C.'s mayor will ask President Trump to start inauguration security today.
This inauguration preparation has to be different than any other inauguration with only 10 days to go.
NBC News has learned Capitol Police were warned of possible violence. Senior law enforcement officials tell NBC that those warnings came from both the FBI and New York City Police. I'm Tracy Potts, 7.
And a few members of Congress are assigning partial blame to House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy for the violent riots at the U.S. Capitol. Those rioters who broke into the building last Wednesday stood behind claims of a fraudulent presidential election. Those claims are unsubstantiated and can be connected to President Trump and a majority of Republicans in the House of Representatives. As a result, calls for the president to resign have extended to his closest allies, in particular Kevin McCarthy. 17's Perla Shaheen has the story.
It was the saddest day I've ever had as serving as a member of this institution.
House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy has already said that he disapproves of the riots at the U.S. Capitol.
The violence, destruction, and chaos we saw earlier was unacceptable, undemocratic, and un-American.
But for many, these statements are not enough. Multiple members of Congress have posted on Twitter calling for Representative McCarthy to resign. That includes Representatives Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Earl Blumenauer, Don Beyer, and former Representative Justin Amash. Senator Pat Toomey says Representative McCarthy and other Republican members of Congress will suffer for their insistence on voter fraud.
They're going to pay a big price for this. I think their reputations have been affected. You've seen the kind of reaction that in the media back in their home states. So their constituents will decide what the final way to adjudicate this.
Former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger posted his own message in response to the riots. At one point, he shamed members of Congress who supported the president's claims of an unfair election.
But what are we to make of those elected officials who have enabled his lies and his treachery? I will remind them of what Teddy Roosevelt said. Patriotism means to stand by the country. It does not mean to stand by the president.
A spokesperson for Representative McCarthy sent 17 News this statement in response to calls for his resignation. Congressman McCarthy is honored to serve our community and will continue to provide a voice to our communities that want to see Washington work together and address the challenges facing our country.
17's Perla Shaheen reporting, and we have Representative McCarthy's full response to the riots on our website, kget.com. And that is the subject of today's 17 interactive feedback poll. Today, we're asking you, should House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy resign following last week's riot at the Capitol? You can call or text us at 661-888-4617. Press 1 if yes, you think he should resign. 2 if not. You can also text, tweet, email, or Facebook your comments, and we'll have a look at the results coming up a little bit later today.
5:07, 17 Crime Watch. 2 people are dead after being shot in South Bakersfield last night. Officers were called to the area of Chester Avenue and South 8th Street around 7:30 p.m. for a report of a shooting. When they arrived, police found 2 people with gunshot wounds, a man and a woman, both said to have major injuries. Both victims were taken to a nearby hospital. The man died of his wounds at the hospital. The woman died hours later. No information about a possible suspect or suspects. Anyone with information is asked to call Bakersfield Police at 327-7111. The owner of a business in Lamont is hoping surveillance video will help catch the man who robbed a young employee at gunpoint. This is video from Maria's Cellular. Owner Scott Taylor tells 17 News the suspect walked into the store at 2:30 last Wednesday, looked around for a while and waited for other customers to leave, then pulled out a handgun, demanding an employee give him 3 iPhones. Taylor says his store has been here for 11 years, and this type of crime has to stop.
It's the violence part. Pointing a gun at a little girl, a 20-year-old girl that's just fresh out of high school, barely going to college, 21, that's just unacceptable. That's not what the Lamont community is made of. That's not what the people that live here and shop here and work here and run businesses want for this area.
Taylor says the man has neck tattoos and earrings. A $1,000 reward is being offered for his arrest. If you have any information, call KCSO at 861-3110.
At least one person is dead following a crash involving an SUV and a motorcycle in northwest Bakersfield yesterday. It happened at the intersection of Hageman and Coffee Roads around 1:30. BPD says a woman driving an SUV made a left turn in front of the motorcycle before the crash. When officers arrived, they say they found a man and a child in the roadway, both suffering from major injuries. The kid who was on the motorcycle later died, while the man was taken to the hospital for life-threatening injuries. The woman driving the SUV cooperated with first responders, No word yet on if drugs or alcohol are thought to be a factor in this crash. CHP is investigating a crash that killed at least one person last night just south of McFarland. According to CHP, the crash happened at Famoso-Porterville Highway and Driver Road just before 9:30 last night. The crash involved a Chevy Silverado and a semi-truck. It's still unclear what caused that crash.
Well, today marks 3 weeks since two little boys were reported missing from California City. Over the weekend, there were reports of remains found in two separate cities, but law enforcement do not believe that they are connected to the case. 3-year-old Orson and 4-year-old Oren West were reported missing December 21st. Search parties were out again Saturday looking for them. The same day, a group in Bakersfield found a bone that appeared to be a human foot. After consulting the coroner, police determined the bone found in Bakersfield was from a goat.
We're just going to continue to search every field, canal, empty field, reservoir in the area that we can, just to cover all bases, because these boys need to be found.
Later, hikers called police after finding remains near Rosamond, but the chief of police in California City says those remains are not connected to the missing boys. Anyone with information can call California City Police at 760-373-8606. Or you can remain anonymous by calling the Secret Witness Hotline. That number is 322-4040. And welcome back. New this morning, Pope Francis has changed church law to allow women to do more things during Catholic Mass. The amendment officially allows women to read the gospel and serve on the altar as Eucharist ministers. Francis says he made the change to highlight what he calls the precious contributions women make in church. The change still, however, prohibits women from becoming priests.
In news around the nation, the FBI has put up electronic wanted posters in Washington, D.C. bus stops, seeking information about those involved in last week's riot at the U.S. Capitol. Those posters feature pictures of people which were taken at the U.S. Capitol. Several people who participated in the melee are accused of breaching high security areas and stealing items from the Capitol. The FBI is hoping the public can identify these individuals so they can be brought to justice. And the Seattle Police Department is investigating reports that two of its officers were in Washington, D.C. during the riots. Chief Adrian Diaz released a statement that the department was made aware of at least 2 officers in D.C. at the time. The statement says that if any officers were directly involved with a, quote, insurrection, they will be terminated. While an investigation is underway, the officers are on administrative leave.
Your time now is 5:20, and Vice President Mike Pence is expected to attend President-elect Joe Biden's inauguration next week. That's according to a person familiar with his decision. The news of Pence attending was first reported by the Washington Post and follows last week's events of the attack on the Capitol. It comes as President Donald Trump announced he would not be in attendance. On a lighter note now, a Florida bald eagle got a helping hand thanks to 2 kids and some firefighters. According to Pasco County Fire Rescue Station 21's Facebook page, fire crews said they were greeted by 2 kids holding an injured bald eagle and seeking help. The Post said the eagle was tired. Its beak was wrapped in fishing line. A fishing hook was through the beak, and it was underweight. Fire crews called Owl's Nest Sanctuary for Wildlife for assistance, and the founder of the sanctuary was able to successfully remove the hook. Veterinarians said the eagle will make a full recovery and be released back into the wild.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back in your 17 Business Watch. An iconic 90s dessert is returning to grocery stores across the nation. Viennetta, the classic take on an ice cream cake, has returned after almost 30 years. Viennetta combines a wavy frozen vanilla base between crispy chocolate layers and a unique cake shape. It's part of the parent company Unilever's 25 new products for 2021, including 10 new ice cream treats from Breyers, like chocolate pretzel swirl and double chocolate brownie batter, and Klondike Wake Me Up coffee-flavored ice cream donuts. Oreo is springing ahead and announcing its spring seasonal limited edition flavor. Strawberry frosted donut flavored Oreo cookies will be available in March, just in time for Easter. These cookies will feature a double layer of pink-colored strawberry-flavored cream with rainbow sprinkles and donut-flavored cream as well. The packaging also mentions glitter being in the pink cream, which is pretty much as cheerful as a cookie can get.
5:25 is your time now. The Consumer Electronics Show kicks off today, but this year the buzzworthy tech showcase will be very different. NBC's Liz McLaughlin gives us a preview of what will be on display.
The Consumer Electronics Show is usually a crowded rush of excitement to get hands-on with the latest and greatest gadgets. But this year, the world's biggest tech trade show is going virtual, with about 1,000 exhibitors participating, less than a fourth of last year's attendance.
It's going to be fewer people making announcements, and because of that, we think there'll be more important announcements.
The show kicks off today with a keynote from Verizon CEO Hans Vestberg. Expect 5G to be center stage at CES, with the speed capabilities opening up new doors of innovation for entertainment, smart home, and even telemedicine.
Just think about your own life and how you have changed your relationship with tech over the past 9 months. And that will give you a guidance to what some of the big themes are going to be.
The big lifestyle changes brought on by the pandemic will drive many of the products showcased here, with touchless technology and germ-killing UV light worked into everyday products, such as this smart fridge from LG.
There's a whole range of personal devices like that, air filtration, masks, sanitizing gear that we will definitely see come to light.
Expect buzzworthy TVs with new 8K resolution and mini LED technology, even transparent displays for commercial use.
It's all about the possibilities of what's to come, and that's what makes it exciting.
A peek into our future, even if it's months or years before it gets to consumers. Liz McLaughlin, NBC News.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.